Okay. So I watched a movie called Teknolust. I watched a movie called Teknolust because it's called Teknolust.
Fair enough. Okay.
I mean, yeah, it stars Tilda Swinton.
I love her.
But even if
I've
it
never
that
heard
was
of it.
yeah, I'd never heard of it. 2002, so earlier film hours.
Mm.
Tilda Swinton's, as ice cream in the cake, or cherry on
She's the
top.
cake and eating it too.
Yeah, that was just a bonus. I would have watched it either way. You make a movie and call it Teknolust, I'm gonna watch it just to see what the hell it is.
Did you say ice cream in the cake? It's called She's the Icing on the Cake.
Icing on the cake. That's the ice cream cake is a thing. It's ice cream. It's in cake.
Like,
that's technically correct. Yeah, icing on the cake was the phrase I was looking for. Thank you.
The ice cream in the cake.
She's the ice cream in the cake. You weird person. Move. Okay, so Teknolust. Do you remember Multiplicity with Michael Keaton?
We watch that movie every year. That's like our
Really?
I love that movie.
Okay. Same thing.
I drive car.
Same thing, except the clones live on sperm. So they have to constantly go out and collect some. No, it's not a porno, even though this sounds like the premise of a porno. And honestly, this probably should have been a porno. This was a really tough watch. And it was, let me check my notes, 43 minutes into the movie before I realized it was supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be a comedy. I really could not tell. It was 40. I'm like, this is supposed to be funny.
Can I ask a crass question?
Yeah.
Does it have to be digested, or does it just have to be internal?
No, it's harvested into a condom, which then goes into a Ziploc baggie and then is boiled and is made into tea, which they drink. Only one of the clones actually goes out and gets food. So yeah, Tilda Swinton's great. She hell of an actor. I mean, she makes 4 distinct characters. This movie was made, Multiplicity was late 90s. This was like 5 years after that, and the effects looks like about 15 years earlier. I mean, the effects are genuinely really bad. But there is a dance sequence where Tilda Swinton dances with herself, which is fun. But there's this, so everyone that she harvests from develop a rash in the form of like a UPC barcode that appears on their head, which is, so they all go to the hospital, which apparently only has 2 doctors in it, and the hospital's like 1 room. And one of the doctors there speaks entirely in whispers. Did you have sexual relations with anyone recently?
So it's Christian Bale practicing his Batman.
He's just whispering the entire time. And I'm like, why are you whispering? No one else is whispering. No one's commenting on the fact that you're whispering. Then there's another guy who had like a bandage on his cheek at some point. And then in the next scene, he had the bandage over the bridge of his nose. I'm like, the bandage moved. This is supposed to be a comedy. That's why the guy's whispering. It's supposed to be funny. Oh my God, that explains so much. This still doesn't work. It's terrible.
Oh, it sounds annoying.
Yes, yeah. And also, I think the bandage moving places like was something they thought would be funny in the middle of shooting, because the first 40 minutes of the movie, it's not even there at all to move around. It's like they just had the idea in the middle of the shoot or something. It's terrible. It's find the scene where Tilda Swinton dances with herself. That's fun. The effects are really, really bad, but there's actually a couple split screen moments that are pretty well done. And but the dance is pretty fun. So other than that, yes, skip this one. It's bad. It should have been a porno. That's a great setup for a porno.
Sure.
That's like the best setup for a porno. Multiplicity, but the clones live on semen. So they have to constantly go out and harvest it. Boom, porno, easy, done.
Love it.
But yeah, great title though. Teknolust with a K, Teko lust.
Oh.
Yeah, it's terrible, and I will not hold it against Miss Swinton, who can still do no wrong, even though she did Teknolust, because she did very well in it.
Yeah.
Oh, and an example of a movie with a relationship between an older woman and a younger man. So that's nice. Because I think she's about 40 when she did that one.
Oh, is she wearing all yellow in this dance scene?
Yeah. Well, I think one wears yellow, one wears red, one wears blue, something like that. Actually, I think all three of them are wearing yellow in the dance scene, maybe.
Yeah. All right. I'm just looking so I don't forget.
Well, one is blonde, one has red hair, one has dark hair.
Dark hair. Yeah. Curious.
So she does a nice job of even without speaking, she carries herself differently as each character. So she does a really nice job there.
Nice.
So, good actor. All right. What's next?
So next is my final one for the month of whatever we're doing, August, right?
Yep.
Awesome. And that would be Suicide Squad. What's it
Suicide Squad? The new one, right?
Yeah, the new one.
Okay.
And it's called The Suicide Squad?
Yes.
And the first one is called just Suicide Squad.
The David Ayer one was Suicide Squad. The James Gunn one is The Suicide Squad.
All right, so I watched The Suicide Squad.
Right.
So much better than Suicide Squad, to be very clear.
Release the Ayer cut.
Yeah, so I really did. There were moments of the first film that I liked. Most of those revolved around Will Smith. And then this movie, though, is much, much better. And it's fun, it's funny, it has Idris. It starts on a high note and it keeps going. And if you've seen the commercials, or the trailers, I don't want to say you've seen the movie, but like if you've seen the trailers and you like it, that's the movie. This isn't one of those they just show all the good stuff in the trailers and make you go and then you watch the movie and you're like, oh, they shared all the good stuff in the trailers, which I always hate. This one, it actually is pretty good. I do miss some of the characters from the original. Basically Will Smith, because I do know some of them die for noble, purposes and whatnot. So, and I definitely don't miss Cara Delevingne's Enchantress, or even June Moon, or whatever the heck her name is.
Yeah.
June Moon.
How's Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag?
Great, although it was so he's lost a lot of weight or bulked up. When I saw the previews for it, it took me a moment to realize who that was. I was like, oh, that's who that is? I will say it was interesting because they don't even mention her, and like June is supposedly the love of his life. So like, I would have liked to hear, Harley say something like, hey, how's June? And he's like, she's in Uruguay doing something. You just in passing, like that's his woman.
Off on another archaeological dig. June.
Yeah, because
hopefully she doesn't get cursed again.
Yeah, but it just sounds like a very Harley thing to say to ask about things.
Yeah.
She's such a sweetheart as she kills people, but she's such a sweetheart. She's very thoughtful. But no, he does great, which is interesting because I really do think that they created a character that, like, in the first movie, you're like, okay, but like, you don't like him, you don't hate. There's nothing interesting, but like, he really.
Who should we get to play the character no one cares about? Joel Kinnaman.
Exactly, but he really. It's a great performance. It's really great. There is the best scene. John Cena.
Well, John Cena is hilarious. If you write to his strengths, he's great.
It ruins nothing, and I'm not going to do a setup.
I would eat an entire bag of dicks for freedom.
He's like, who knows why Mad Men do what they do? He's amazing. Why would there be dicks? And that girl is fantastic.
Ratcatcher?
I hope she does a lot. That actress is great. She's beautiful in her, like, she has such a presence on screen. This specific story is so much more streamlined. Yes, it is true. They have like a few scenes thrown in to be like, oh, right, here's us giving you all the backstory and all the plot for this and all the plot for this. And it's really, you're in there like, ah, but they need to, because the rest of it is just fun. You know, they always need those, but what did you mean by this? And, you know, like the conversations no one would have just so we could hear them give us the plot. But I mean, I remember the plot of the first movie kind of, well, I mean, I remember, but in that you're like, there's so convoluted, there's so much going on. And this one is just, it's very A, B, C, D, E.
There's an evil starfish. Go get it.
Exactly.
Got it. All right.
There's a scene that they're in a camp, and those who have seen it know exactly, and I'm not going to give, but they're just walking through a camp trying to get to the leader, right? And save their friend. And so they're, you know, killing the people in their way. And someone just happens to be like taking a nap on a cot. And freaking John Cena has a mallet, and he just walks by them super nonchalant and just goes, like, just walks by and like smashes their body with a hammer as he goes by. And he never looks at them. He's just looking straight, just like pounding killing this person with a hammer. I nearly died. His delivery of like how just it doesn't even faze him. It's just a sleeping person on a cot, and he's the greater. Oh my God. It's true though. John Cena plays his characters. They wrote for him.
Yeah.
Like
I wouldn't say the man has a ton of range, but
no.
What he does really well. Play to his strengths, and he's great.
Yes. And this movie specifically plays to that man's strengths. It's like impressive. If I had something bad to say, I would say almost like Viola Davis, unfortunately, whom I love, and she's a brick shit house of a woman, and I think she's great. I think that they didn't do anything with her that was new. So she kind of has to be like bitter and heartless and stuff for no reason in this. And you're just like, I get it. You're kind of in power, but it was weird. I was like, stop making her like a robot. And I don't know if that was because they were like, let's get past her really quick and onto something else. But it's like, you could almost feel for her, like, oh, I'm just reprising my role, but there's nothing for me to do.
Right.
Which at least they got her to do it. Because it would be weird if all of a sudden you have Octavia Spencer in there instead of, you know, or just anyone else. You know, they're like, oh, let's completely change it. And it's Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, you know, at least they got her because she is so specifically that character, but they didn't have anything for her to do. And I think that she knew that. She's like, well, you know, it's a paycheck. And that's always sad when someone that you really, really, Edward Norton, like, and is an amazing actor, doesn't have anything to work with. And so they don't even work.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I blame them sometimes, but it also just kind of sucks.
Yeah. I really want to see that at some point.
Yes. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to. So those last two that and Green Knight. I want you to see them all so we can actually have full conversations
I'm kind of in love with King Shark and his monosyllabic utterings. Just grab and be nom nom.
He
Burr.
is hilarious. Oh my gosh. And I don't know what rock I was living under that I didn't actually know that it was Sylvester Stallone doing the
In the
voice.
voice, yeah.
I don't, and then when I heard, I was like, oh my God, how did I not know? I mean, but I was under a rock. I didn't know, but he is hilarious. That character
Would
is,
you eat your friends?
I don't have any.
No.
Well, it's so funny because they're in the briefing room and he raises his hand. He goes,
And
and yes, that is your hand. And then he goes, yeah.
nailed it. Got it in
Nailed
one.
it. And then you're just like, it's so, you're like, you think that he's gonna have a hand? She's like, yes, that's your hand. And you're like, okay. And then the starfish moment with John Cena, even like, I don't know anyone else who could deliver that. He's like Dan Aykroyd in a way of like, there are certain,
I know exactly what you mean.
okay,
Yeah.
there are lines that if anyone else delivered them, it would not make any sense. But like, starfish, that's gang slang for butthole. Do you think it has had anything to do with it? No, I do not. Okay. And like, he's just, and yeah, he's so, and you just think no one else could give that line. Like, it's just, so anyways, it's a fun movie. So much, and they don't even really, they don't really bring up the first, which is probably one of the reasons why they don't talk about June or Joker or anything like that, because they're like, yeah, they're like, let's just make pretend.
It happened, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah. So, all right, you have two more.
I have two more that just came in under the wire, August 30 and 31. So this first one is, like Val, not technically a movie, but we're going to talk about it anyway. I finally watched Hamilton.
Sorry, I woke up my baby.
Now, little backstory.
I'm so excited.
Because Hamilton was incredibly popular,
okay,
I was afraid that I'd be.
I'm going to tell them a story. I want to tell them a story. Okay,
so okay.
I was in San Diego with
this
brother.
Is probably the story I was going to tell. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it. Go for it.
So I was in San Diego with brother, and this was height of Hamilton. So this was what, like 2-3 years ago, and we are going to the
probably a little more than that now, but yeah.
So we're going to the grocery store. Since the last 2 years are a blur, they don't count. So it's 2 years before the blur. Anyways, so we're tooling around San Diego, and I was like, I want you to listen to this because it's not.
She brought her Hamilton soundtrack with her.
Thank you. And so we listened to it in the car driving around, and we listened to the first act. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we got through the whole first act.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, because when we got home, we just sat in the car and listened to the rest of the disc one.
Yes. And so, and because I was very like, you have to understand it's not just rap for the sake of rap. It's, and brother was like, I don't like it. He appreciated the lyrics. He appreciated the talent that it took, and he appreciated the talent to write it, but also to perform it. He specifically enjoyed Angelica. He thought that she could rap them all under the table, not like rap them, but like rap them. I'm so white, sorry. So anyways, that was my story about brother's introduction to Hamilton.
Yeah. So my review of the soundtrack was, it's very good. I don't like it.
Yes.
So I was a little trepidatious about watching Hamilton, especially because it's nearly 3 hours long.
Right.
I was like, what if I really don't like it? That's a lot of time to not like something. But it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And if you ignore the intermission, Act 1 is like an hour and 20 minutes, and Act 2 is like an hour and 15. So it's a really easy sit, especially with the intermission. So hell of a show. I greatly admire everything from the production to the performance. That set is amazing. I love that damn set. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it. I pretty much had exactly the same reaction as I did to the soundtrack. I admire and appreciate the talent that goes into performing it. And but I just don't really enjoy it. What did I write? I said excellent use of lyrical and musical motifs. The lyrics are damn clever, but it's not a musical genre I enjoy.
Right.
So that and an uninteresting story stunted my enjoyment. One of the things I didn't realize going into Hamilton is it's not really a story as much as it is a biopic.
Yeah.
It's more of a, here's Hamilton, the dude, and what he did from time 0 to time 1, right? There's no real actual story being told. It's just a, here's all the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. That's it succeeds in its intention. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I don't know if it was that particular performance, but he's easily the weakest performer of the entire cast.
So,
at least based on that, he's not bad. He's just, everyone else is a lot better than he is.
that's the thing. And so, yes, is the answer. He is a writer.
Mm-hmm.
He is a composer. He's an extraordinarily talented man in that right. But he is, and good for him wanting to write himself into it, like, and perform. But like, he is, that's not, performance isn't his strongest suit. He's a good performer.
He's good. He's solid, but
he surrounded himself with upper echelon performers that they would make a lot of good performers look weaker. But you know, which is another reason why he, you know, isn't doing his In the Heights performance anymore. He, you know, but like, that's what he was doing, is he was writing things for him.
I will give him credit where it's due. From a performance standpoint, he's very charismatic. He's very funny. He delivers humor really well.
Yeah.
He overacts, which you kind of have to do from a stage performance. It probably wouldn't be as noticeable if I were sitting in the middle of an audience, you know?
Right.
But because the camera's right up on him, but the camera's right up on everyone else, and I'm not having the same problem. They're overacting in a believable way. He's just overacting to communicate it. He also, and I say this as someone with the same problem, does not have a lead voice. He's accurate, but he doesn't have a lead melody voice. He sings, that's probably he soars. He's really good at harmonizing with other people. When he's singing a counter melody with someone else, solid. When he's performing by himself, it's correct, but it's not a lead. He doesn't have a lead voice. Like me. I can sing a melody too if it's in my range, and I can sing it accurately, but no one wants to listen to it because I do not have a melody voice. But when I'm harmonizing with other people who do, that's where the magic happens. Same thing with Lin-Manuel Miranda. But yeah, everyone else is acting and singing circles around him. He really should have just cast, but I mean, it's his project, dude. You know, go for it. I can't fault him.
Him being Alexander Hamilton, like I don't know if he would have the success he has if it wasn't him in that role.
One of the chorus, one of the background characters has so has too much charisma and she needs to be replaced with someone who does not have as much charisma as she does, because my eyes were just drawn to
the blonde hair. That's kind of,
she has kind of poofy, frizzy hair. It's not blonde, but it's more darkish.
okay.
But my eyes were just drawn to her every time she was on stage. And I'm like, you gotta get someone with less charisma. She's distracting from everything. But I loved how they
Leslie
did.
Odom Jr.
Yeah, I loved the costuming. I love this because the way they do the it's almost the exact opposite of how kabuki theater is done, where you have the characters dressed all in black, and those are the don't pay attention to me, I'm tech and crew characters. In Hamilton, it's pretty much the people who are wearing all white.
Yeah.
They're the background characters. They're not important. The people with the fancy coats, that's who you pay attention to. I loved it from a stage production standpoint. I found it absolutely fascinating to watch from a stage managing and directorial perspective.
Well, it makes me happy to think that with the success of this, and also, by the way, Into the Woods all those years ago, like, I would like to think that they'll be able to create these kind of theatrical experiences for the people who don't live in New York.
I love the fact that I was able to watch one of the Broadway shows of this. Yeah, I agree, because otherwise I'd never have I'd have heard the first act on the soundtrack and that's it.
Yeah.
I do. It's a little over edited, the version that's on Disney Plus, a bit too. It's like, just pull back. It's fine for the most part, but just pull back and let me watch the show. There's, I think, one or two. There's a camera on the very back of the stage facing out towards the audience. There's like a hole in the wall or something like that. They use that angle like twice. I'm like, don't ever do that. We are never meant to see that angle. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But as a filmed Broadway production, pretty good. As my favorite song, of course, is King George's da 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 da. That actor is hilarious. Oh my God. That guy commits to that role. He is amazingly funny. Unfortunately, they kind of don't know what to do with that character. Like, it comes in threes. I think he has 3 moments, and that's, you feel like it's going to build to something. Because his first instance, he just stands there, and in the next instance, he does a kind of shoulder shimmy, and the third one, you think they're going to bust out into a full dance number. No. And then he like stays and hangs out on the stage for a minute or two for no apparent reason. And I'm like, no, it's not working. Go away. Still a fun song. I really like that song. The woman who plays Angelica, the orange dress, the one who's not married to Hamilton.
Yeah,
Liza's the one who's married to him. Angelica's she unhinges her jaw to belt. I mean, she opens her mouth really wide when she belts. It's amazing. She's like, why? She's like, unhinged jaw like Snake. Why? It's like, holy shit. It's amazing. Here's my interpretation of the ending. Now, I've never heard of any controversy over how the film ends. It ends with Eliza kind of an anguished cry.
There's tons of people talk about that ending all the time.
They do. Okay, I just didn't hear any about it. Okay, because I watched that and went, well, that strikes me as something that people would talk about. Maybe I'm just not listening. Okay. So here's my take on it.
Okay, thank you.
I think what the point was Hamilton was a guy. We all know Hamilton and Washington and Jefferson and Aaron Burr, some of us know. But no one ever thinks about, the repeating motif of who will tell your story, if anyone will at all. And we learn at the very, very, very end of the show that Eliza did a ton of cool stuff. Here's all the stuff that we just spent 3 hours talking about Hamilton. here's all the stuff that Eliza was doing, and
Right.
you didn't know any of it, did you? Because who's going to tell your story if they
Men.
tell it at all?
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of message they're trying to put forth, and I think that's what that anguished cry is supposed to represent. Here's my problem with that, if that indeed is the intention. While most people have heard of Alexander Hamilton, most people didn't know any of the shit that happened in the story anyway.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, no one's even heard of Eliza, let alone anything she did. I'd never heard of her, and I didn't fact check any of that stuff. So I don't know if it's true or not. I know the broad strokes of the Hamilton musical are true, but I mean, I'm aware of, some of the specific details. I didn't know. Most of the stuff that happens in the show, I didn't know.
Right.
So it kind of loses its impact. It's like, well, you didn't hear anything about Eliza. Shit, I barely know who Hamilton is because our education system is so shit. What do you think about the ending?
I kind of agree with that in the whole who lives, who dies, who tells your story is I didn't take it from like the male perspective of like, yeah, of course men are going to tell the stories, and that's why you're not going to ever hear about these women did amazing things.
Yeah, written out of history.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for it was almost like kind of in a way for me, I was like, I took it very internal and like do something so that you have motivated someone to do something because of you, something good. So like for me, like she started the orphanage and she did all this, and like even though she did all of these great things, it's because she had someone who led her and inspired her. And so it's more of like your story is going to be told through other people's good works. And then that was why she was so like, that sigh that she gives is like I have found my purpose. My purpose is to be the one that continues on the legacy.
Would you say she ululates?
I've watched that, like, so I watched that part of the of that video. I was like, yeah. And then and then someone was like, do you even ululate, bro? And I was like,
bro, do you even ululate?
Do you even ululate? And I was like, that's so funny. And I haven't used that word since, because again, it's not one that normally enters. It's like a fjord. Wonderful word. Great word. But I live in Missouri. We don't have.
We have no fjords here.
We don't have. It's not something we can talk about in our daily lives. So every now and then you just have to throw in a word that you're like, but it's a hard word to say. No wonder people ululate, because they're like, it's easier to actually go oh than it is to say the word. Anyways, yes, that's what I think. I'm really excited that you saw it though. What was like? I'm interested to know like your impetus. Was it just like you know what?
I'll tell you. That leads me into the next movie, which I watched, Vivo. Vivo is a animated film on Netflix about a kinkajou who goes on an adventure, and it was written and performed by Lin-Manuel Miranda as the kinkajou. So, of course, this kinkajou is a kinkajou in the same respect that Sonic the Hedgehog is actually a hedgehog, but whatever. So this show came out on Netflix and I wanted to watch it. I knew it was Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm like, you know what? I should watch Hamilton first to have that baseline of Lin-Manuel Miranda's performance and writing chops.
Yeah.
Now, I'd already seen stuff like Moana, which he wrote the music for, or co-wrote the music for. I've heard a little bit of Into the Heights. But that's mainly why I finally sat down and watched Hamilton, is because I wanted to watch it before I watched Vivo.
Interesting. Okay.
So Vivo,
I'm looking at the thing. I haven't even heard of this, so I'm very interested about it now.
It's uneven, but the emotional beats work, even if a lot of the story and character beats don't. It's got it where it counts.
Aww.
What I write, it's wonderfully vivid and creative art direction with some impressive incidental animation details, and though it can be kind of dumb, sometimes it's hilarious as a result. Incidental animation details, there are a lot of crowd scenes, and what I found particularly interesting is there was a lot of, I don't know if they like filmed a crowd boogieing and then like keyframe animated that, and because you don't have the crowd acts, there's a lot of individual bespoke animations for each character in the crowd, so it actually looks like a bunch of people just dancing together. It's really well done. Music's fine. It's nothing I can't hum any of it except one, which I'll get to. I'm not humming. So it's a show about there's a little kinkajou who lives in Cuba. I think that's where they are. And with some old guy who is a musician. So we've got kind of the organ grinder thingy going, and they busk on the street, and life is good. Then he gets a letter from a long lost love, Gloria Stefan. So and she says, hey, we performed together a long time ago, and I'd love for you to come perform on my new show. And he's like, oh, my lost love, Gloria. And what the hell is the character's name? Can't, Martha or something like that. Go IMDb this so I know what the damn.
Is she actually played by Gloria Estefan?
I think so, yeah.
It is Martha.
Martha, okay, thank you. So he's like, all right, we're gonna go to Florida so that I can give Marta the love song I wrote for her. But I wrote her a love song, and then she got big and left, and I didn't want to, I love you, stay here with me. I didn't want to do that. But now, finally, now that I'm 80 or something, I can, express my love.
Yeah, what do you have to lose? You're 80.
And so he immediately drops dead. And I'm like, and I kind of saw this coming. I'm like, wait, I saw the trailer. This is an adventure with the kinkajou and a little girl. Oh no. Oh no, he's gonna die. Yeah, he just passes away that night.
Aww.
And so the movie is a kinkajou and the little girl trying to get the love song to Martha by the show date. It's very sad. And again, the emotional, it's from a story structure standpoint, it's really weird, but the emotional beat hits, so it kind of works.
Yeah.
So it's a road trip movie with a little girl and kinkajou, and they're trying to get this sheet music to the performer lady so that he can posthumously express his love, which is great. It looks nice. They do a lot of really interesting stylistic things when the music happens. Like the art style will change to reflect the emotions of what's going on in a clever way. I like that. The music usually, once again, Lin-Manuel Miranda does a much better vocal performance in this than I think he did in Hamilton. Still not really a lead voice, and he's a lot more solid when he's harmonizing with someone else.
Yeah.
But it still works. There's one song that I can remember from the soundtrack.
Okay.
And it's the little girl's first song. She's kind of a rebel. I'll dance to the beat of my own drum. And her song is, I'll dance to the beat of my own drum. I'm something, something, something. I something, something, something. I'm something, something, something. I dance to the beat of my own drum. And it's supposed to be this loud, abrasive, brash, obnoxious thing.
It sounds it.
And it is. And that's the only reason I remember it, because it's really annoying. Even though a lot of when they break into the various verses, it's really clever. I particularly love a segment of the song where she brags about having her own seat at the back of the bus. I'm like, oh, that's really sad. Her mom is trying to get her to
different reason. Oh,
and she's like, I'm like, oh no, that's so sad.
Oh God.
But that is a wonderfully subversive line of dialogue. I mean, that's Lin-Manuel Miranda. He writes really well.
Yeah, no,
that's
he's
really
very
clever.
smart. I will say the man is smart.
There's some funny stuff where there's mom wants her to join the Girl Scouts and sell cookies so she'll have friends, and she doesn't wanna. And so she and the Kinkajou are trying to get to the venue, and she runs into where the Girl Scouts have their table set up and are selling cookies, I guess without any parental supervision. And for some reason, these Girl Scouts are invested in making sure little Susan.
Rosa.
What?
Rosa.
Is it Rosa? Are you looking at the cast? It's Rosa. Okay. A little Rosa sells cookies with them, and they abandon their cookie booth and they chase her down. I'm like, why do they care?
I'd be that person over there. I'm like, the cookies are not being got, I'm like,
the cookies are abandoned. Everyone get the cookies. It makes no damn sense, but it leads to a lot of things that are really funny. There's this running gag, which I think they only do twice, and they really needed to do one final gag with it to really tie that together, because it's got to do it in threes.
She was not at three.
One guy buys cookies from their stand, and the little Girl Scout goes, "Mr. Kibblesmith, you're using a plastic bag. Don't you know those choke turtles or something? You should be using a canvas bag." And he's like, "I'm sorry." And he's like shrinking at her. And so the girls are on their tricycles or bicycles or whatever, chasing after Rosa and trying to catch her. And they almost get hit by a car. The car's like, they almost get hit on the side by a car, and they're like, they look over and they're like, "Mr. Kibblesmith," and he's there. It's like, you live a block away and you drove here, and it's hilarious.
Oh, that's good.
They don't follow up on that. I thought Mr. Kibblesmith or whoever there'd be a third one of those. I don't think there is.
There should have been. That's a missed opportunity.
That is.
It could have happened like later. Like then you have to wait the 30 minutes and bring it back.
So that's character and story wise, the movie doesn't work, but it does hit the appropriate emotional beats, and it's colorful and imaginative and fun. So overall, I liked it. And that is all the movies we watched in August. So what would you recommend, and what would you say skip?
That's so hard.
If any. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to say skip.
And I really enjoyed all of them in their own little, annoying sort of way. So if you're going to watch one of them, obviously I'm going to have to say watch Black Widow, because come on, the MCU is just so like they have not yet turned out one that you're like, oh, they've all been good except maybe the original Hulk with Edward Norton phoning it in. You can skip that.
The Incredible Hulk. I'd still call it a solid B-.
Yeah, but no. So I would say go ahead and watch Black Widow. Continue your MCU education. Put that in there. It's just you're going to have a good time. And to me, going in knowing you're going to have a good time is important. So if there's one to skip, I would say Val. And the only reason is because I think that it's a movie made for a specific persons between the ages of that one deck, 37 to 45, 35 to 45, 37, 46, like right in here. So if you're not right in there, it's really not made for you. And you know, I feel like that's the one to skip only because it truly isn't for everyone. And there's really nothing that he has said or does in the film. And even though I very much enjoyed it and it was a good watch and everything, and it's kind of interesting, like you could literally just read probably his wiki or his IMDb and get all of the same information in 10 minutes. So
yeah.
So those are my don't miss, and if you have to miss one, miss this one.
Yeah, for skipping, it's for me, one to skip would either be Man Who Knew Too Much, which is just bad, and Teknolust, which is also bad.
Yeah, I would have.
I'd probably say skip Man Who Knew Too Much because there's just nothing even interesting about it.
Sure.
Teknolust, on the other hand, has Tilda Swinton in it.
Yeah, so, there you go.
And it's also interestingly bad. It's like,
well, I must say,
it's one of those you look at and you're like, why? What were you thinking?
That I have not heard of.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd go ahead and skip Man Who Knew Too Much. It's just lousy. As far as one to watch, I'd say Hamilton, if for no other reason than it is now a touchstone of popular culture. It's something, It's like Star Wars, you kind of need to see it, just so you can participate in the conversation. And even if you don't really care for that genre of music, there's a lot to admire from the writing and performance and construction and directing and stage managing perspective. But if you just really aren't into musical theater, Vivo, it's cute and colorful and funny, and it's got heart. It's emotionally manipulative, but it'll grab your heart and give it a squeeze a few places. It's nice.
I feel like that's a one to watch with the kids. I think.
It's colorful and it's funny. Kids will love it. And it's got some decent music in it. A lot of the jokes land. As I said, it's stupid as hell. The story and the characters don't work at all, but it lands its emotional beats with aplomb. So
we like plums.
Yeah, it lands emotional beats with a plum. So it's like, landed. Here's my plum.
Yummy.
Right. So there be our monthly movie mini reviews for August. I will probably separate this into 2 separate videos because we've been going for almost 2 hours.
Yep, and you have a stream too.
But I got to drop off now because I've got Sunday stream to do. So Kelly, thank you very much for participating in another month of mini reviews.
Many.
It should be monthly movie many reviews.
There's many mini reviews.
There you go. All right, we will catch you cool cats back here for our September movie mini reviews. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.